Welcome to IUPUI and the School of Education's Early Childhood Education Program. My name is Dr. Brandy James. I am the Early Childhood Program Coordinator. We are excited that you have chosen early education as a field of study and practice. It is an exciting time to enter early childhood education. Now more than ever, researchers, practitioners, and policymakers are thinking about the importance of equity in early care and education programs, policies, and practice. Early childhood providers are called upon to do many difficult tasks. One of the most difficult of these is providing our children with diverse, multicultural experiences. Even today, most family childcare homes and many early childhood education programs tend to be fairly homogeneous and quite similar to the child's home background. That is why the Early Childhood Education Program at IUPUI strives to impart on future educators the importance of creating diverse, equitable, and inclusive programming throughout the course of their program. The Bachelor's of Science in Early Childhood Education program is designed for early childhood educators interested in developing the skills necessary to effectively empower, engage, and educate diverse learners in a variety of urban education settings, both in the private and public sectors. The non-licensure option is for educators interested in working in early childhood settings focused on birth to pre-K. The licensure option is for educators interested in working in early childhood settings focused on pre-K to grade 3 and results in early childhood education licensure in the state of Indiana. As a student, you will learn from experienced faculty members who will prepare you to be a transformative teacher of early childhood age children. Let me introduce you to some of our amazing instructors of the School of Education's Early Childhood Education program. Once again, we are excited that you have chosen IUPUI's Early Childhood Education program, and we look forward to working with you.
Hi, I'm Professor Lassane Spears, and I am here to tell you a little bit about my journey as an educator in the early childhood profession. I grew up wanting to be a teacher. I taught my two younger sisters. I taught all my stuffed animals their ABCs. I knew from the beginning what I wanted to be, and it was a teacher. So when I went to school, I knew it was education, and I'm lucky in that sense. But I thought it was going to be something like kindergarten, maybe first grade. I had no idea that there was a whole profession in early childhood. And so once I started getting into my studies and I stepped into a preschool classroom, it took my heart, and my heart's been there ever since. I learned in my studies that, there's a possibility for early childhood to be more than just a job. It's a career, and it is a profession. And so I learned that. I hadn't applied that yet. And so I graduated and I got a job as a preschool teacher, and I did a lot of work in progressive schools. I worked hard to make sure that I'm integrating the whole child, families first, and we did a lot with art and music and integrating that into the curriculum as well. And I started to feel an itch to do something more, to have a deeper meaning to my career, even though teaching children is probably the biggest, deepest meaning there I can ever imagine. But I ended up working for a nonprofit that works for system level changes in early childhood. And I started to see that early childhood is this giant system in our state, in our country, and it's not something that is stagnant. It's ever changing. There's all these components, and there are careers outside of just the classroom, which when I began, I thought, oh, I'm definitely just going to be a teacher for the rest of my life. The children are everything, and it's wonderful, and it is. But then I learned that there is so much more to this profession, that educators need educators, that the government needs people to step up and to support, that nonprofit agencies need people to encourage their young children that visit their museums or visit their activities. So I began to see that there is a bigger system to early childhood and the profession, and I took a leap, and I tried that for a little bit. And then I came back, and I had to get back into the classroom with students because I missed them, and I missed the work that's there as well. But I'm here now as a professor because I feel like my journey has taken me, and I've had the ability to be able to see a little bit of everything in early childhood, and kind of dab a little bit at everything as well. My big passions include inclusion for early childhood and students with disabilities, as well as integrating the arts and music. I love, love arts and music, and nothing gives me more joy than to sit down at a table and to draw with a bunch of students, to see their social emotional interactions, to see their fine motor skills and how they're holding their pencil develop, to see how their storytelling's developing, to see how they use the math vocabulary as they're drawing one but two trees. And I really appreciate those moments in the classroom, and I think those are the moments in the classroom that really help children grow and become the student that they are. And so that's one of my biggest passions, and I think that is why I am the professor that integrates art into the classroom. One of the reasons, at least. And I really hope that my course, the arts, integrating the arts into early childhood classroom, really helps you be inspired to tap into your creativity and to use your creativity inside the classroom. Because if we're not modeling it, and if we're not showing it, and if we're not expressing it, then students aren't going to tap into it. They're not going to have the opportunity to model it for others or to share it with others. And so my hope is that this course helps students become more comfortable with their creativity and helps them see that creativity can be integrated into a subject that seems so linear, maybe like math or science. It can be something abstract and something maybe more expressive can add to and enhance and even, inspire young scientists, mathematicians, biologists, or writers. So I hope that my course provides those skills. I know they do, and that really it inspires adults to be creative so that we can express that creativity and share that creativity with others. Great. Well, there's a little bit about myself.
Hello, my name is Amy Torres. I'm an adjunct professor at IUPUI in Indianapolis in the education department. And today I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about myself. Why did I choose education as my major? Well, I chose education as my major because I believe teachers have the unique opportunity to influence the world. With the right encouragement and learning opportunities, our students can go on to live their dreams. And I find it really exciting to be a part of that journey with them. I remember the day after the 2008 presidential election, one of my students came in and he was so excited. He just had to tell me something right away. First thing when he came in, Miss Amy, Miss Amy. And he looked at me and he said, I can be president someday. It was in that moment that I realized just how important our work is with children and adults who are working with children. Some academic skills that I hope that our students take away with them after their journey at IUPUI is adaptability. We have learned especially over this past year, the importance to be flexible in the ability to know how to adapt at whatever is thrown their way. Communication. Being able to communicate with not only your students, but with parents, families, other staff members, coworkers is an essential skill. Team player. That to me too is an essential skill. Part of being a teacher is being able to work together as part of a team or a group. When you work together as a team, it provides students with a better chance to learn and have fun. Continuous learner. Teaching is a lifelong learning process. The world is ever changing along with curriculum and educational technology. So it's up to us as educators to keep up with it. Imaginative. The most effective tool teachers can use is their imagination, especially when it comes to budgets. Teachers need to be creative and think of unique ways to keep their students engaged in learning and sometimes to meet their the various learning styles. Commitment. While being committed to your job is a traditional teaching skill, it's also a modern one. A modern teacher needs to always be engaged in their profession. The students need to see that their teacher is present and dedicated to be there for them. The ability to manage online reputation and profile. I know this can be a touchy one. In this digital age, if not all, most teachers are online, which means they have an online reputation. Today's teachers need to know how to manage their online reputation and which social networks are okay for them to use or to have public. LinkedIn, for example, is a professional social network to connect with colleagues and potential employers. But other social networks like Instagram and Facebook should always remain private and separate from students, families, and I would even say colleagues. Leadership. An effective leader is a mentor and knows how to guide their students in the right direction. They lead by example and are a good role model. They encourage their students and lead them to a place of success. Time management. Teachers are expected to cram so much more into one day, more and more every day, it seems like. Time management is a skill that's going to be very important to help manage those demands. Patience. Teachers of all levels should know their classroom will represent a variety of cultural backgrounds, learning styles, intellectual abilities. Dedicated students will likely contribute more to class discussions and be more easygoing, but many students might present other challenges like turning in their work late or causing behavioral disruptions. Teachers should be patient and help maintain the balance of their own expectations and the student's unique ability, and try to understand the why behind some of these behaviors as well. It would be my hope that our students would learn these skills throughout their educational journey here at IUPUI. The course that I am teaching this semester is Social Studies in the Early Elementary Classroom. Throughout this course, we will explore developmental concepts of social studies and young children, as well as how they align with the Indiana academic standards. Some projects that I'm interested in and things I like to research around early childhood education. I enjoy researching language development and culture and how it shapes experiences, influences in children's development in my spare time. A project that I put on the back burner is teaching CDA classes in Spanish. Timing, funding, all of those things just aren't aligning right now. And my educational journey in early childhood, wow, it is and continues to be a very long journey. I hope that it doesn't end, as we're all continuous learners throughout our lives. But it started with probably like 98, 99. I volunteered in a pre-K classroom and then eventually got a job there. And that was about the time that they were changing the laws here in Indiana. And you had to get your CDA. So I enrolled in some CDA classes. And lucky for me, I had some amazing professors. It was then that I caught the UCE bug and I wanted more. I don't know if I blame them for that or I praise them for that. But I completed my CDA and then I went on to get my associates. My associates took me, I want to say about 5 years. But through that journey, my professors encouraged me and helped me. I hope that I can be that type of professor to my students as well. I want to be encouraging and uplifting to them as well and be there for them. I went on later on, waited another couple of years and moved into the childcare resource and referral world and decided to get my bachelor's. And again, in early childhood education. I love learning about children and how they work and how we can help their learning environments be better. Couple of years later, I became interested in CDA and teaching CDA in Spanish. Funding was aligning. We couldn't find a qualified instructor. We needed someone who spoke Spanish and had their master's. That was a motivation that I needed to get my master's, was to teach that CDA. So I told him to give me 2 years. Luckily, the funding was still there. I was able to get my master's and go on to teach 2 years of Spanish CDA. And each class, we had around 25 students that went on to get their CDA. So that was really exciting for me. And now I'm here at IUPUI teaching social studies. It has been a really exciting journey, and I'm excited to see where I go next.
Hi, my name is Sarah Larison, and I'm an adjunct professor with the Early Childhood Education program at IUPUI. And I chose education as my major because I've always loved children, working with kids, but also because I just wanted to make an impact not only in students' lives but also in families' lives. As educators, we have a really unique opportunity to kind of become part of other people's families. They let us into their lives, and they trust us with their children, and so we have a really unique opportunity to really nurture those relationships and make a difference and impact families' lives, not only academically but in a multitude of other ways. So I think one of the most important pedagogical skills that you'll learn when you're enrolled in the early childhood education program is to really understand what equitable access means and how we provide equitable access to students, for all students, for all learners, whether they have a disability or they have they speak another language and they're learning English, whether they're gifted and talented, whatever that that label they might come with, that we as educators have to learn how to provide that access to students so that they can not only flourish academically but flourish and become contributing members of their classroom society, and then eventually society as they grow up and move on out of the K-12 education. The course that I teach is the Introduction to Early Childhood Foundations, and in that class you will learn not only the historical components of early childhood, but we'll talk about things like executive functioning and play-based learning and how you can incorporate those foundational skills for early childhood education into your classrooms. You'll walk away with some practical ways to apply all of the things that you've learned and what they look like, whether you're practicing, whether you're a practitioner or whether you are an aspiring practitioner. You'll leave with ways to implement those skills into your classrooms and add them into your portfolio as skills that you can use. And then some of the exciting things that I have going on and how I've kind of my journey to early childhood education. I started out as a K-6 teacher, and special education is actually my background. I have done a lot of work in special education. I worked for the Department of Education, and I'm currently a consultant, and I work with teachers and administrators all around the state. And I'm very passionate about, as a mother, I have two children who are in that early childhood. They fall into that early childhood continuum, and I'm just really passionate about making sure that all families have access to high quality early childhood programming, and that that all teachers feel prepared, and that they are ready to take on the challenges and the joys of being in early childhood education. And this age, then, you know, being able to really get into early intervention and understand how the impact that makes in children's lives down the road is so vital. So it's really exciting to be part of early childhood education in general, because early childhood education holds the key to a lot of really amazing things when we're talking about the impact that high quality education what it can do for a student down the road. So I'm really excited, and I'm thrilled to be part of this early childhood education team, and looking forward to meeting all kinds of new students and learning alongside of you.